thank you. So yeah, I'm John Tanton Brown. I work for Monsoon Accessorize. So I'm going to go through quick introductions, and then I'll talk about what we've been doing for the last few years on our analytics journey, what successes we've had, the tools that we've implemented, talk a little bit about what's next. And if you've got any questions, then ask them, or I'll be downstairs afterwards. Cool, so quick intro, so about me. So I've been in retail my whole career. I started at House of Fraser. Don't know if anyone remembers Discoverer 4 on Oracle. I used to use that quite substantially over the years, and that's basically where I learned my SQL and data modeling and things like that. I got married and had a baby. And during 2012, I was actually involved in a huge BI overhaul at House of Fraser where we took our legacy systems and replaced it with MicroStrategy. The following year, I became the manager of that entire system. Then I had another baby. Then after 12 years or so, I decided to join Monsoon Accessorize, and there I was introduced to Exasol. So just a quick, hopefully everyone has heard of Monsoon Accessorize. So we're a fashion retailer. We've been around since 1973. The first Accessorize store was founded in 1984 in London. We have a trust. We've got a kids range. We launched online in 2000. Got the Queen's Honour, which was good. Launched on all the social media platforms in 2010, and right now we've got over 300 stores in the UK and Ireland and lots of stores across the globe. So, in 2016, there was a project initiated called Project Customer, and the strapline of that was data and analytics anytime, anywhere, through the eyes of the customer. So if you think about the data sources that we had coming into our data warehouse, so when we sold a product, we knew everything about the product, the color, the size, where it came from, all of the product attributes. We knew whereabouts it was sold. We knew if that store was like for like. We knew who sold it. We knew everything about the transaction, so what tender was taken, whether there was discount applied, the time, so that fed into the time hierarchy. So basically all of the dimensions that you'd expect from a sales transaction. But we really struggled around the customer, and the most important person in that picture, or the most important thing, is the customer. So the idea of this project was to try and close that gap. So at high-level requirements was we wanted to ingest more data into the data warehouse, not only for customer, but for greater insight across all the different business functions. So we had a load of web data sitting on our web platform, but that wasn't being fed into the data warehouse. We were getting weekly stock snapshots, and we wanted daily, so we could make much better decisions and more accurate decisions. And obviously, we wanted more customer data. And then sitting over that customer data, we wanted to provide a single customer view, which would just completely give us a step change in the customer analytics that we were capable of providing. So against that backdrop, we had these challenges. So everything was very old. So the infrastructure hadn't been touched for almost 10 years. The database itself was an old Oracle 9 data warehouse, which I think the support ended in 2010, and we had an old version of Business Objects running over that. We had no dev or test environments, so the first time something went in, it was on the production environment, really. Everything was really slow, so the business used these tools called Whizzies, which are weekly sales stock and intake reports. They kicked off Sunday morning and ran for 18 hours, and the SLA was 8 a.m. Monday morning. So if anything fell over on a Sunday, which I understand it did quite a lot, we always missed SLA, and it was very stressful. And that meant that basic business questions, we were struggling to answer them. And we got to the point where just don't touch it, because if you touch it, you're going to break it. So we had all that, and we obviously had this big demand for new analytics, new data. So we decided that we would basically start again. We would kind of ignore the old infrastructure and say, right, what do we want? So the technology decisions we made, so this is our legacy. So the source system stayed the same. So we had Oracle, SQL Server. We had a bunch of files coming in from different sources. We used Informatica to feed all of that into the data warehouse. Like I said, we had the Oracle 9 data warehouse, and the front end was SAP Business Objects. So the solutions that we went for were Talend in the ETL, Exasol as the data warehouse platform, and MicroStrategy as the BI tool. So once Exasol was in, we saw quite a good performance improvement. So it can be summed up in this picture. It was just like, it was awesome. So we were just like, performance. It really was fast compared with what we had. I mean, the bar was low, but this was way better than we thought it was. So we didn't actually touch business objects at this point. All we had done is take the Oracle data warehouse and migrate all that data into Exasol and repoint business objects to that. The syntax is the same, so that was quite simple, and it just felt like a completely new tool because everything was just super quick. So those wizards I was talking about, they took a few minutes to run rather than 18 hours. Just great speed on reports, and things ran so fast that we thought we had done something wrong. And even this week, I said to my colleague, I've just updated 30 million records in like half a second. This is awesome. It's just really fast. And the best quote was a guy on my team who he'd worked there longer than us. He said that he thinks that people live longer at Monsoon now because the stress levels have been reduced so much. So you can't. That's a pretty good compliment. And also, as part of that, the business gained a much greater trust in the technology department because we actually delivered something that really did make a massive improvement to the performance of all the teams. So having Exasol there, we had the platform for growth. So we were then able to load in those daily stock snapshots, which meant that we could provide a much more accurate view of where the stock was and make decisions which are more accurate. I mean, you could do it before, but you had to kind of take your week ending position and minus all your sales. What have you taken into the, what stock have you taken in? It was just a bit more painful. So daily was a big win. We started to feed in the order information from our web platform. So that included like whereabouts orders were going and all the customer attributes. We've started to feed in weather information, footfall information from our stores, the square footage of our stores, so all the kind of richer stuff that we wanted in, but we just couldn't because we were limited by our old infrastructure. And obviously, we wanted all the customer data, so we started feeding that in from our loyalty and marketing systems. And that allowed us to create this single customer view that we wanted. So some of the successes we've had. So the single customer view was the first success. Other than replacing Exasol, this was the first thing we built on Exasol that we couldn't have done before. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure you all know what a single customer view is, but you have multiple systems with a slightly different version of a customer, each representing a single human being. So what we wanted to do was basically merge and match those customers to make like a golden record. So we had millions of customers in our customer database, and so we had to compare all of those to everyone else. So we were doing like billions and billions of comparisons, and it ran in like less than a minute. It was awesome. And I don't think I've ever worked on, I haven't worked on a system where I would be able to do that in this time. And it's cool because it's so fast, you can actually spin up multiple single customer views and find out which one is the best one. So you can, if you want to change the merging and matching logic, you can do and just spin up a different version. And if it doesn't work, you just throw it away. So once we had done that merging and matching, we had to serve it up to the business. And historically, that would have been quite difficult to do because we'd have had to merge in the keys into the legacy fact tables. And that would have been quite a painful thing to do. So what we worked out was if we could just join all the tables together as a view and serve this up, actually, that was fine. It worked really well because we had the performance and we had that platform in. And it meant that we could take that development and instead of it taking a few weeks to do, we just did it in a few, I think it took me like a few days to do with a couple of meetings with the guys, did a few iterations. There's the view, serve it up. And it's a view, so if you want any changes, you just update the view and update the MicroStrategy report, and it's done. So that was a big step change. And it really did allow us to answer some really basic questions about the value of customers. So are our customers who have subscribed to emails, are they more valuable than those who haven't? If you've got a reward card, presumably you're more valuable, but how much? We could get some science behind these numbers now. what segments are growing, what's not, whereabouts in the country are growing, etc. And certain campaigns, how much did they deliver from new count, sales, profit. And then we were allowed, because we had all this data now, we could start bringing in new metrics to the MicroStrategy environment. And recently, over the last couple of weeks, actually, we've just been building up the history and keeping a system of change over the customer attributes over like 3 years, so we can start seeing how the attributes move over time. So are our customer segments growing? What age ranges are growing or shrinking? Who our most profitable customers are? Are they spending more or less over time? And we can slice and dice that by all of those other dimensions that I mentioned earlier, so time and product and location. So that was like a single customer view project. We also needed to completely change our analytics. So before, as I said, we were using business objects, and we moved to MicroStrategy. And within a few months, like separate to the technology, we had written a data dictionary. So one of the first things I did when I got to Monsoon was I interviewed every single business function, asking them where their pain points were, what data gaps there were, and every single one of those people said one of the most painful things is going into a meeting and spending the first 10 minutes working out what each other's numbers were, and it was because there was no consistency. So I wrote a data dictionary which comprised of all of the key metrics and attributes within the business with an English definition, and it's shared across the business now, so when you see sales margin, you know what sales margin is. And we redesigned the actual data model within our data warehouse on Exasol to reflect exactly what had been agreed in the data dictionary. And the way we did that was we built dimension tables, but the facts, we created views. And that, in a similar way to the serving up of the single customer view, because we had the performance there was no impact by using views over the raw data, and it meant that they were like totally flexible. So if somebody wanted a new metric that wasn't in the fact, we just created it. As long as the raw data was there, which most of the time it was, we could just create all these different versions of metrics, and it was just really quick and easy to do. Then we modeled it in MicroStrategy, and then we began the process of basically moving analytics or reporting out of business objects and into MicroStrategy. Some of the successes we've had, so weekly trade packs, for example. Before we had MicroStrategy and Exasol, people would come in very early on a Monday morning to run reports in business objects, download them all to Excel spreadsheets. Each team would then send that to somebody who would try and cobble it all together in Excel and email it out to everyone. It was always a rush to get it done, so that meant there was no analysis of the numbers pre-meeting and no consistency between the teams. So what did we do? We just automated it. So we defined what the report needed to look like, and we built it within MicroStrategy. We used the dossier feature, which meant that people could have it on a mobile phone or iPad, or they could click on the link, and they could interact with it. So each team, if you know dossier, you can have chapters within a dossier. So each business sort of area had its own chapter, and within that you had the relevant metrics that that team needed to talk to, and within it you could drill down to the different levels. So if you could see there was an issue at some product level, you could drill down and find out where that was, or do that across location. And we used to send it out on a Sunday and a Monday, because our international stores obviously trade different time zones, so we wanted to bring all that in. And on the PDFs that we email out, there's a link. You can click on it and go into the interactive dashboard. And the last trade, I used to go to the trade meetings just to find out like what the questions that are being asked. The last time I went, the CFO said, right, we've all seen the numbers, let's talk about the actions. And from my point of view, that's like my job's done. They've taken the number, they've got the numbers, they've seen them over the weekend or on the train, on the way in, and then they're talking actions. They're not even talking about the numbers or the reports. So that was great. Another more recent thing that we've done is we wanted to see how our web sales are allocated to physical stores. So before, we had no view of how stores were doing if you sort of considered the sales of web that were delivered within a certain range. So we used Exasol we used Talent to go and grab all the long lat data and we mapped that to the postcodes, and from there, we knew where our stores were. So we created an algorithm which basically looked up all of the orders and assigned it to the closest store. And again, the performance is great. Millions and millions of records comparing to all of our stores. Runs in seconds. Great. So retail dashboards. So again, similar to the weekly reports, really. So again, people would run reports, download it to Excel, cobble it all together, PDF it, and then email it to the store managers. And they only did that on a weekly basis, which meant that during the week, area managers were essentially blind. So we just automated it. We sat with retail, and we just asked, what are the things that you're interested in? And once that semantic layer is in, we could build it, and the feedback was just immediately like, this has absolutely changed the way we work, just having this data. And you could drill down on it. You could see the different slices. You could see where the issues were. And it allowed them to drill down. So I've got a little video here of one of the area managers. So I'll just play it, and hopefully the sound will work.
So, Eva, what do you think of the new reporting?
I think it's absolutely incredible. It transformed my day life. And I think it's going to improve my performance with at least 2 percentage points.
We got you.
How
many
percentage
points? 2 percentage points.
We should see direct improvement, I think, from having
Because
the
it cuts out
reports.
so much time wasted chasing information because you have
No,
it.
it's absolutely, great. It's like, for example, this morning, I logged in, I saw the report, I saw the performance of my stores, and especially with the top 30 stores, I was able to drill in and find out where the losses are coming from. So, for example, Oslo Street West, I could easily see it was coming from kids parties, so I caught up with the manager, and we planned some actions for the rest of the week to pull back the deficit.
That's amazing.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Thank you.
I don't think she knew she was going to be filmed for that, which is why she looks a bit odd at the end. But because we had the platforms in place and the tools in place, it just became so easy to build those, those things that allowed her to do her job so well. We just sat there with the guys, and we put it on the screen, and we just iterated through. And within a few days, we had something that was good enough for them. Put it into a shared location, and off they went. They could have it. So what's next for us? So, we have made some great improvements, but I still feel there's quite a lot of gut instinct decisions being made, and we can get much more scientific. We've now got the tools in place to do that. So every single operation within the business needs data to make their decisions, and we really do need to sort of get under the covers of some of these big questions now. And we have started generating some demand. So we've got some basket analysis going on, web availability, speed to market, optimization of prices and markdowns. All of that stuff is now going on, and we have the tools to be able to answer some of these questions. More data, there's product reviews we want, there's social, demographics and trends. Just want it all as much as we can. And we're trying to set the organization up to be a bit more data-driven so that we can get analysts sort of embedded within the teams, get them to sit in my team, the BI team, and just start trying to get underneath some of these big questions we're trying to answer. And in the pockets that we have had, that's actually worked pretty well. So in conclusion, we've invested in some great technology. So Exasol really does provide us the platform for growth, and the performance is awesome. And with MicroStrategy over the top of it, it just allows us to really quickly prototype stuff, build stuff that looks pretty sexy, save it into a shared report or dossier, and then share it to the entire enterprise. Gives us also the ability for users to just create their own analytics. They can just drag and drop. They've got the full depth and breadth of the warehouse at their fingertips, essentially. And we're now getting more demand than ever for insights, and we've got the tools to deliver them. Thank you very much.